Okay, so our next speaker is Rebecca Schmoy, and she is speaking on hitting your target audience. So she is a true grassroots gun rights advocate on so many levels. She is a spokesmom for 1 Million Moms Against Gun Control, and she is the Kansas State Director of the DC Project, which if you don't know the DC Project, it rocks. She's also running for elected office in the Kansas State House, the State House of Representatives, and she believes that together, individual liberty and personal responsibility build the foundation of our inherent rights. Imagine that as an elected official, right? And she also says, when coupled with education, those beliefs will do more for safety and freedom than any legislation our elected representatives can offer. So join me in welcoming Rebecca Schmoy.
All adjusted here. I have notes so that I stay on track, because otherwise we're going to be squirrel hunting. All right. It is great to see all of you guys. It is great to see all of you guys here today. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in from, across the nation, across the world as well. The opportunity that we've been given should be applauded. The fact that we can come together as Second Amendment media and learn from one another, that doesn't happen in other areas. Running for office, I have learned that there are people who will reach out and help you learn the ropes, and then there are people who don't want you to learn the ropes because they think that it is infringing on their audience, on their ability to speak from their platform. The fact that we can all come together and do this is phenomenal, and I applaud everyone for that. All right, we are talking today about hitting your target audience. Everybody in here has an audience. Everybody at home has an audience. The thing is that we need to put some thought into who our audience is and what it is that they're expecting from us. Now, I promise you we did not call each other ahead of time, but several of my points will be reflected from what we've already heard today. It really is that important. First of all, we will have a little bit of audience participation. How many of you guys notice memes on social media? Yeah, it's a quick, easy to share, easy to consume form of media. We kind of think of it as kind of a byproduct or something. I'm going to date myself here. In the 80s, with the jean jacket and the buttons. You guys remember all the buttons with the quick little sayings? That's what a meme is. It is designed specifically to catch your attention and is supposed to be shared so that it almost feels like you are the one that created the content. If you are a meme creator, you have two options. You can put your brand on the meme itself and have that shared, and then that is advertising for your brand, or you can leave your branding off of it and just rely on the message to get out, because sometimes, quite frankly, people won't share information if it has someone else's name or brand attached to it. So if the message is strong enough and you don't mind not having your brand on it, just put the words out so we can get the message out. I know that is counterintuitive to all of the branding discussions, but it's the reality of it. There are some people who will not share that information simply because it's got somebody else's name on it. We are working on that in the 2A community. That's why we all come to things like this. That way we can network and we can get better at sharing one another's content. When you think of Reels, the short snippet videos on social media, the audience that you are reaching with those is the same audience that we would reach with commercials. When you are sharing something like a reel, you have a limited amount of time to disseminate some really important information, whether that information is something that you feel strongly about, or whether that information is, hey, check out my page. It is a short amount of time, like a commercial, and we all understand how important commercials are. As we were growing up, what was the happiest place on earth? Disney, of course. What Craig used just a few minutes ago, just do it. Who's that? It's Nike. Who here knows the ultimate driving machine? BMW. You're in good hands. What's in your wallet? Snap, crackle, and pop. Nothing runs like a... We all understand how important that short branding type commercial is. We all have grown up and lived our entire lives understanding that it doesn't take very long for an idea or a slogan to stick. So we can use that while we're going for a targeted audience. We need to make sure that we are having clear, concise message. In Reels, it is the 3-15-3 rule. So for 3 seconds at the very beginning, you've got a hook, because we all know, anybody who's on social media, if you are scrolling, you've got about 3 seconds that you are seeing this video play in front of you, and that's when you determine whether or not you're going to finish watching that video. 15 seconds is your actual content, what it is that you are trying to share with the audience, whether it is something that is serious, whether it is something that is humorous. You've got 15 seconds of quality content, and then the last 3 seconds is your call to action. And a lot of people miss the call to action. The call to action can be something as click like, follow my page at, contact your legislature, comment below, share with friends. All of those things are the call to action. Without that, we are not engaging the audience. We are actually giving the audience something to do, something to participate in. When we talk about articles and blogs, we have to understand that we're talking about things like newspaper articles, magazine articles, things that people will sit and read. And I know that it seems like people don't do that anymore. I can promise you, in my house, people still sit and read articles. And they will sit and read articles out loud to the other people in the room if it's a good enough article. That is where we take the meme, the quick shareable advertisement, and then the reel, the commercial, and we are able to unpack the idea that we have shared previously. So when you create a meme or share a meme, and then you create a reel and share that, then you can also direct your audience to the article that you wrote so that you can give them all the information. Who Who here remembers the structure of an essay from school? Yeah? Yes. So you tell them, you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. So really all the article is doing is taking that meme content or the reel that you have shared as your commercial, and you've already told them what you're going to tell them. So now the article is telling them. Then we move to the video part, where we can use the meme into the reel, into the article, and then use the article as part of the video. So just like Dan was talking about earlier, we can just simply read the article or find someone else who will read the article. And then we can discuss the article. And then we can bring the audience in at that point. And now it's interactive. Now you are discussing your ideas and your goals, and you are sharing that experience with your audience. The thing that you have to be careful of when you're writing an article, like Craig was talking about earlier, it's easy to misinterpret. You have to make sure that the author's voice triggers the reader's perception. So if you are someone who is known as being serious and logical and fact-based, you want to make sure that when you are writing out your article or your script for your video, that you adhere to that. You have set that expectation for your audience. That's what they expect from you. That doesn't mean that you can't be funny. In fact, if your expectation that you have set is that you are humorous and you are witty, then you want to stick with that, but you also have the ability in video to be serious. So when you're writing, you have to adhere to what the audience expects, or else they might misconstrue your emotion. When you're reading it in video, everyone can understand that when you are being serious and when it's a serious topic, and then when you switch over. It's very important to your audience that you do not come across as offensive. Unfortunately, there are times when we write something that we don't feel like that would be an offensive thing to say or an offensive phrasing. And when our audience reads it, they don't take it in our voice. Then, when you have video, you can kind of expand on that, and you can engage with the audience, and they can see when you're being facetious and when you're actually, making a solid point. If I could read my handwriting here. When you've trained your audience on what to expect from you, they look forward to the conversation. It's just like making friends. So if you have trained your audience that this is what I'm about, this is what you can expect from me, and then they tune in and you are completely off your normal banter, then they're going to wonder what's wrong. They're going to think that there's a problem. You have now separated yourself from your audience. And the entire point is to make sure that your audience comes along with you. You want to make sure when you're writing or when you're creating content that your audience knows that you are the creator of the content. You want them to expect you to act a certain way and to deliver lines a certain way that they can recognize you without having to track down the who wrote it. You want your audience to read or hear something and say, oh, I know who said that. When you are developing the creator-audience relationship, you want them to continue to want to seek out your content. It is imperative. Our entire industry is based on the fact that they will continue to seek out your voice. So you want to make sure that you are projecting yourself in such a way that you are being open and that you are being engaging and that you are making exciting for those in the audience to participate with you. Give your audience the benefit of the doubt on the intelligence scale. You do not have to dumb down your content. Trust that your audience, for one, is smart. They are intelligent. They are seeking out your opinion. Therefore, obviously, I mean, come on, guys, obviously, they are smart enough to be seeking out your opinion. So treat them with respect. There is nothing worse than reading an article by someone who you have had a conversation with or someone who you have seen in conversation with others where they come across as intelligent and an expert on a topic, and then they write an article or they give a speech and it's like they're talking to a third grader. That is condescending to your audience. Just steer away from that. There are times and places where you want to use 3-word directives. That is not all the time in every place. We have to, as media entirety, not just Second Amendment, we have to start respecting our audience. All right, so with video and vlogs and podcasts, solo podcasts and radio, what we're doing is basically the same thing as when we write an article to share. Only we're writing it for the consumers that like audiobooks. When you take into consideration who your audience is and that you start thinking about what their daily life looks like and how they consume your media, you have to start to understand that we've got a very limited amount of time before we lose their attention. Even great content can be lost because it stretches on too long. All of us grew up with sitcoms. Every one of us grew up in the world of you've got the intro, and then you've got the rising action, the climax, the falling action, and the conclusion, all within 30 minutes. It was all wrapped up within 30 minutes. Most of our attention spans have only decreased since then. We need to make sure that when we are creating content, if it is something that is going to take longer than about 30 to 45 minutes, which is usually the commuter's drive, the media consumer who listens to a podcast on their daily commute, you've got about 30 to 45 minutes of time. If you are 2/3 of the way through that and they get out to go into work, the chances of them listening to the last part of that are pretty slim. Unfortunately, that's where a lot of us put our how to find me. So you've got to start thinking about, first of all, when you introduce yourself in your podcast, make sure that you are introducing where they can find you for more information at the beginning. And then try to keep it to that commute time so that you're not losing them. If it's something that's going to take a long time to unpack, if it is a topic that's going to take longer than you expect, break it up into like a mini series. Just make sure that you leave them with a cliffhanger, something that they want more information. So design your speech, design whatever it is that you're doing to leave them wanting more. So that when they do get out and they pause that and they go to work and they come back out on lunch, they want to finish. They want to know what's next. That is so important and is often missed because generally speaking, we do a show and then we cut it off and then we do a different show and then we cut that off and then we do a different show. If you have something that is important enough to unpack in several shows, just make sure that your audience wants to come back. You have to know your audience. A lot of us got into this and we just jumped in and we started doing this and we didn't give any thought to who our audience is. We need to make sure that you are taking time to think about who your potential audience is, who you want your audience to be. And you have to understand that when you are doing something like a podcast or when you are doing something this interactive with the audience, all you're doing is hosting a party. You are the host of the party. You have your old friends, the audience. You bring on a guest, and that's the new friend that you're introducing to the group. You tell the group why that friend is somebody that they want to know, and then you step back and you make sure that, one, you show them in a good light, but two, get your audience involved in asking questions of your guest. Whether you pre-record and send out something ahead of time saying what questions you have for this amazing person that I'm going to have on the show, or you have the interactive. It is imperative to have your audience participating because that makes them feel like they're part of the show. Everybody likes to be part of the show. We all have our favorite methods of communication. If you want a very targeted audience, use one or two, use the meme, use an article. If you want to broaden your audience, incorporate all the different forms of media because you can use one to promote another. And we have talked about that several times today. It's imperative that we reach beyond our echo chamber. We need to make sure that we are inviting audiences that we traditionally wouldn't think would tune in. We need to make sure that we are reaching out past ourselves. I mean, we're a great audience, but we need to get other people involved because when we get those who are outside the community involved, they start being the community. They are then able to talk to the other people in their sphere of influence. I don't know about you guys, but in school, we would do lectures. It's not as much fun as having a conversation. Whenever possible, have a conversation with your audience. If it's just you and your audience, include your audience. If it's you and a guest in your audience, include your audience. When you are writing an article, give your audience something to do, an actionable item. Include them in the journey. You guys are a great audience. Our friends following along at home are a great audience. Network together. While I'm running for legislature in my state, I sent out a call to action. I sent out a request to other people that I know in the Second Amendment community. And I said, listen, guys, I need endorsements. I need something to share with my constituents that I actually have been in the fight for a decade. And our community, the Second Amendment community, stepped up, and they were amazing. I have so many videos and articles and so many things that people from our community were able to put together on my behalf. If we can do that for each other, in just for me, for little old me running for House District 59 in Kansas, we can do that for each other in whatever it is that our media covers. We need to start sharing one another's content. We need to start having one another on. We need to make sure that we are incorporating our audiences, because our audiences overlap. And in some places, you are reaching entirely new people. Just make sure that whatever it is that you are doing in Second Amendment media, you are engaging your audience so that they want to become one of us. They understand that they also have a voice. The more the merrier. Thank you, Amanda.
I've learned everything that I know about keeping time from Julianne, right? And you just slowly creep up and get their attention.